And we are back on the live stream. I got to tell you, folks, it feels like it must be lunchtime. I know it is, but you can tell because you've got everybody walking back and forth beside us as we are streaming, hitting the expo hall during their lunch break, and they're bringing food with them, and I am sad, but nobody has brought me any food, and I'm dying. But what keeps me nourished and going is the non-stop stream of experts we have here at the live stream station. If you want to see all the ones that have already taken place, check out nojitter.com as well as enterpriseconnect.com, and you can see an encore presentation of each one. Every single person has been very forthright, and they've been funny and humble, and they've been insightful. And I'm not saying that just to say it, I mean, they really are. And this individual I'm talking to is no different. Let me introduce you to Marty Parker. Marty, how you doing today?
Doing great, Daryl. Thanks for setting the bar so high for me.
I did. Everybody else has been nice, so you have to equal that. Marty is with UniComm Consulting. And just for our audience, Marty, maybe you can give us a little background on UniComm Consulting and you and what you guys do.
Sure. My partner Don Van Doren and I are UniComm Consulting. It's a small firm. We advise large enterprises on their unified communications and now collaboration, and into the future, I would say, workflow optimization strategies and roadmaps. We're vendor independent, so we can work with any of the vendors here, depending on, we work with the customers to choose any of the vendors here. That's the best way to say it. And we help customers find the optimizations within their business processes. So we focus on what the customer's business is about first, and then we select technologies to match.
So that's, it's almost sad to say, but that's almost backwards. Most people go in either representing a product or with a vendor bias, and they look for solutions that support their products. What I like about what I'm hearing you saying is you go in and you say, help me understand your business and your needs. All right, here are your options. Is that a fair statement?
Well, that's exactly right. That's correct. And we base our work on work that Michael Porter, a professor at Harvard Business School, did back in 1986, Competitive Advantage, which is about business process flow. And we also are always able to show our customers ways to optimize on a roadmap, because if you look just at the business processes, you don't do mass conversions of things, you work incrementally on a roadmap. So it's worked really well. You can see more about this at unicommconsulting.com.
That's good. So check out unicommconsulting.com. What I love about these events is how people multitask. So check them out right now while you simultaneously listen and watch us. So there you go. Now, you are giving a talk, if I understand, called Architecting Hybrid Cloud, More Art Than Science, but it's actually not more art than science. It's more art than science? Question mark.
Question mark. Right.
Big question mark. So what do you mean by that? What's the point of the question mark?
Right. Well, the first thing we do is we're going to talk this afternoon about why customers are going to need hybrid cloud. Today, we have here at Enterprise Connect, we're seeing more and more cloud options. But you can't just snap your fingers and rush there.
Right.
You already own something on premises. You already own an on-premises infrastructure. And when you put things in the cloud, the two are going to have to work together. We think that will last almost a decade from end to end, because some people just bought some on-premises assets, and maybe the life cycle of those will be 8 to 10 years. It's going to be a journey. And so what we're focusing on, Eric Kraft and I talked about this before, we're focusing on how to plan for that and how to orchestrate it in such a way that it can go smoothly. You can capture the gains of the cloud without having to without disrupting your business. And so we're going to talk about that from an architectural perspective, and it'll use different parts in the cloud, different parts on premises. We'll use directory-enabled gateways, and we have a wonderful panel of companies to talk about this. Sonos with directory-enabled gateways, plus we have ShoreTel, we have NEC, we have Microsoft, so we've got a whole set of participants there to talk about how they would do this. I would emphasize that it's not just a single brand, because if I have, say, Microsoft on premises and Microsoft in the cloud, I don't think of that as hybrid. That's a distributed architecture.
Right.
And we shouldn't have to work around Microsoft to do that. They should match the customer. But if I have, say, Avaya on premises and let's pick one that announced this morning, Amazon Connect in the cloud,
right,
those will have to work together. That's what hybrid cloud is about.
Now, as I go and talk to each of you guys, and I interview you to see how's the show going for you, what are you looking for, what brings you Enterprise Connect, you're all telling me the same thing. It's like they went to the same school to get the same answer. You're all saying cloud. So I'm hearing that over and over and over again. So I'm not shocked that you're talking about that. So you should check out that session, because it's not just from your point of view in managing and moderating that, but it's also the panelists you have on there. You're going to have a nice, diverse point of view.
Yeah, you bet.
So now, when is that again?
That starts at it goes from 1:45 until 3 p.m., so it's 75 minutes long. And 2/3 of the time will be with the panelists, so you're going to hear a lot from them, I'll open it up with some architecture.
And is that today?
Today.
Fantastic.
1:45 to 3.
Get that going, guys. All right, now I'm going to move on to our next question. You recently gave a session, if I understand, on vendor consolidation, which is interesting. All right, so I want to understand, how is consolidation affecting the enterprise today?
Yes, well, the title of it was Managing for and Through Vendor Consolidation. So before I answer your question directly, sure, I'm going to say we talked in yesterday's session about all the things that a company can be doing. No matter who your current brand is, imagine that they get consolidated sometime in the future, that they will merge or sell.
Right.
Even if they're the buyer in a merger and acquisition, the thing they buy is going to affect them.
That's right.
So you just can't escape that right now. It's going to happen. And even with cloud vendors, you might say, well, that won't happen. But no, Gartner's Unified Communications as a Service Magic Quadrant 2015 identified 250 cloud providers globally. There's no way that that's going to happen. Any business model would say that's going to come down to maybe the top 10.
Yep.
There's going to be consolidation. So we gave you can go look at this online, but there's a lot that we talked about in terms of how you plan for that, how you work through your contracting, how you have alternatives and backup strategies, a contingency plan, how you can do that with secondary vendor licensing, but most importantly, how you talk to the executives. Because I don't think we in telecom and communications ought to be managing this on our own. Go talk to the CFO, go talk to the CIO, go talk to the COO, and treat this like an insurance policy. I've got a vendor, someday they're going to consolidate or get merged or be a mergee or a merger, and I need to buy insurance against that. How do I buy the insurance?
What I really like about that is sometimes people manage risk by simply buying a solution from the biggest vendor or two in the space, right?
Sure.
It's the classic, you never got fired for buying IBM. That morphed eventually into buying Microsoft. But the challenge with that approach is that you may be missing out on an opportunity from an innovative vendor.
Right.
That's not the market leader.
Right.
That is exactly what you need. But to your point, as long as you plan and have insurance around that potential eventual merger, and who knows, they may be the acquirer, not the acquired.
That's right.
Then you have the advantage of getting the technology and the solution you need, the price point you need, while still protecting yourself long term.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so we talked about strategies for that. To the other part of your question, this industry, I wrote a post, and we're going to come to that in the next question to some extent, but this is an industry where so much is changing all at once. In the computing industry, Andy Grove, who's the chairman emeritus of Intel, wrote a book called Only the Paranoid Survive.
Yep.
And the book has illustrations in it that show how the vertical stack of the mainframe got split into layers.
Yep.
And that there were only typically 3 leaders at every layer, but hardly any company was a leader in every layer.
Right.
Well, the PBX is the vertical stack of our industry, and it's being layered out. And so we're seeing that the network layer comes out, you're seeing that the device layer goes out, you're seeing that the application layer goes out, the user experience layers. It's being disassembled into layers, and therefore we're seeing new leaders at each of these layers. Arguably Cisco at the network layer, but maybe Twilio or someone like that at the middleware layer.
Yep.
Okay, so we're seeing a real disruption in this industry, and that's part of why the vendor planning for and through vendor consolidation is going to be so key.
So to me, that's advice that comes from somebody who's seen this happen once or twice, and that's the experience that you bring with your firm, UniComm Consulting.
Well, yes, that's true, and I've also been in the strategy and planning and even M&A portions of several large corporations in my career.
Yes,
so
I understand. I have
kind of
lived that
been
as
there,
well.
done that, got the T-shirt.
Yes, I've got the T-shirt, the scars, and whatnot. All right, let's go to our last question here. Now, both Amazon Web Services and Google are keynoting here at Enterprise Connect, and they've both made significant moves in enterprise communications in the past few months. Yeah, I know you were referencing that.
Right.
What do you make of the entry of such large public cloud players to the space?
Mm-hmm. Well, this is building off of what Andy Grove said, but this is exactly what happens based on innovations. And so what we're seeing here is companies. Let me start with the post that I put up with Beth Schultz on No Jitter today. That none of the keynotes. This is the first time in the 23 years that I've been at Enterprise Connect or its predecessors that there is no PBX company as a keynoter. And I mean primarily PBX company. You might say, well, Cisco was a keynote. Well, first, they didn't show a PBX this morning.
Right.
But number two, they make less than 10% of their revenue from selling collaboration products. And only half of that is basically their Cisco UCM product line.
Yep.
So basically, they are a networking company with a collaboration offering.
Yep.
And the same is true for all of the other keynotes, Twilio, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. What are they doing? What they're saying is, we see how the world has changed so that we don't have to be building this monolithic stack. We can be a winner at a layer. And so in Amazon's case, their winning strategy is Amazon Web Services, and they chose to build an application that sells Amazon Web Services. So, from one perspective, they could give away Amazon Connect and just sell the AWS services, which basically they're doing. They're saying there's no upfront capital investment and you pay as you go. Now, Google is a different model. They're selling advertising. They're an advertising company. In fact, they're now the world's biggest advertising company, as I understand it. So they're trying to get people to come to their infrastructure, come to their ads. Now, they don't require ads for their Google services.
Right.
But people will get exposed to that. And they're selling that infrastructure. Again, it's the same idea. I've got a specialty and I can market it into this group. For every one of these companies, the telecommunications industry is a growth opportunity, but they don't have to protect the legacy cost. So if I was selling telecommunications for $100 per user 10 years ago, and I drop that to $10 per user, that looks like a huge drop in revenue for the traditional companies. But if I started at 0, like Amazon Web Services does, and I go to 10, it looks exponential.
Yeah.
So this is exactly how industries get eaten up. One of my favorite authors is Clayton Christensen, who wrote a book, The Innovator's Dilemma, or subtitle, Why Great Companies Fail. It's because these disruptive innovations are anathema to the incumbents,
and
they don't embrace it. So now's the time. Those of you out there who are vendors, start embracing disruption. It's your life cycle.
Awesome. All right. So I know you got to get going because your session is just around the corner here.
It is.
And so again, that session is called Architecting Hybrid Cloud, More Art Than Science, with a big question mark on it. You should check out Marty. He's going to be up there with his panelists. He is with UniComm Consulting. Is that just unicommconsulting.com? I'm just guessing.
It is. That's right. Thank you again.
There you go. So check it out. In the meantime, folks, we are going to be back real soon with our next live stream. We hope you're enjoying these. If not, enjoy the show. Check out the expo. It's a lot of great content. We'll talk to you soon.
Hope to see you.
See you soon. Bye-bye.